Wherever you're watching around the world, welcome to Melbourne, home to one of the most vibrant and passionate sporting cultures in the world. This city has hosted the Olympics, the Commonwealth Games, Formula One, the Ashes, the Melbourne Cup, and every year the Australian Open tennis. In a few years' time, it hopes to be one of the host cities for the World Cup. But today, it's the venue for the 2009-2010 Hyundai A-League Grand Final between the champions Melbourne Victory and this season's premiers, Sydney FC. This venue, in fact, has been a battleground for the Australian World Cup bid for 2018-2022. It is controlled by a different code of football, but it's the round ball that takes precedence today. Melbourne, the multicultural city with large immigrant populations from Italy, Greece, India, China and Vietnam. And there are 9 different nationalities represented in the two-team lineups tonight. Here are the teams, starting with Melbourne Victory. The big news is that Tom Pondolyak has failed in his bid to become the first player to play in 8 grand finals. His hamstring injury keeps him out. Robbie Cruz and Archie Thompson, though, are both fit. They and Carlos Hernandez will keep the Sydney FC defence very busy. And could this be the last game of Kevin Muscat's stellar career? He leads the Victory in every sense. As for Sydney FC, they've opted to stick with the former Melbourne Victory man Seb Ryle at right back, despite the return to fitness of Shannon Cole. And in the absence of veterans John Aloisi and Steve Corica, Mark Bridge continues in his attacking midfield role. And Chris Payne, scorer of that hugely controversial handball goal against Wellington Phoenix last week, leads the line alongside Alex Brosk. Well, this is the biggest rivalry in Australian football. Teams from the 2 biggest cities, the 2 largest fan bases, and it is the game the A-League has waited for 5 years. Melbourne winning the hosting rights after defeating Sydney over 2 legs in the major semi-final. Sydney earning their place by seeing off Wellington Phoenix in the preliminary final last weekend. The omens do favour Melbourne. 5 times these 2 cities have met in grand finals down the years, and Melbourne has won the lot. Victory has also never lost a finals game, and home teams have triumphed in 3 out of the 4 grand finals during the Hyundai A-League era. Newcastle won it on neutral territory 2 years ago, of course. However, Melbourne, aiming for their 3rd title, do have a heavy schedule. They're straight off to the airport after this to fly to Japan for their Asian Champions League clash with Kawasaki Frontale. Sydney, champions in the first year of the A-League, have no such concerns and can and will give it their all here tonight. The sky blue flags off Sydney, the dark blue colours of Melbourne Victory. It's going to be a cauldron at Etihad Stadium tonight. 2 teams, but there can be, in a final as ever, just the one winner. Approaching a sellout at Etihad Stadium. These 2 teams always provide lots of talking points. Before we get underway with all the action, it's time for the Australian national anthem, which is going to be sung this evening by Emma Cooperthwaite.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of Australia will be performed by Emma Cooperthwaite.
Australians all
Well, I think it's probably fair to say that Melbourne are the slight favourites, given that they have home advantage, and of course they're aiming to become the first team to win back-to-back titles. 48,000 fans can't wait for kick-off in this, the biggest blue of all. Melbourne versus Sydney is coming right up. Well, it is a beautiful evening in the Victorian capital. There's a sky blue hue hanging above the stadium inside a cauldron of people, mainly clad in dark blue. Current temperature around 25 degrees. A quick check on the replacements. For Melbourne victory, the reserve keeper is Glenn Moss. Alongside him, Marvin Angulo, Matthew Foschini, Evan Berger and Aziz Behich. In reserve for Sydney FC, the reserve stopper is Ivan Nichevsky. Alongside him, Hayden Fox, Brendan Gant, Shannon Cole and the youngster Joe Gibbs. Well, Ernie Merrick just one game away from history. If he wins the title today, he joins Zoran Matic and Eddie Thompson at the top of the coaching tree with 3 national titles apiece, though he still has a way to go to equal Matic's record of 5 grand final appearances as a coach. By contrast, Svetoslav Levitska is a newcomer to this occasion, but he's claimed silverware in Europe, winning the Czech title with Slovan Liberec, and of course the Premiership just a few weeks ago with the Sky Blues. Our referee is also a novice, Strebrej Delovski, taking charge of his first grand final. But the current A-League referee of the year has recently taken charge of Japan and South Korea in Tokyo, so this occasion shouldn't bother him. His assistants are Ben Wilson and Matthew Crean. Plenty of talking points between these two rivals down the years. Terry McFlynn provided a very recent one with a challenge that injured Melbourne's Robbie Cruz last month. Today, McFlynn wears the skipper's armband for the Sky Blues. Robbie Cruz, of course, scored that stunning goal in the major semi, won by the victory. So away we go in the grand final, 141 games. 367 goals this season. It all comes down to this: dark blue versus sky blue in the biggest blue of all. Which hue are you leaning towards, Robbie Slater?
Well, I think you mentioned it's a huge rivalry, and you said, Simon, that we've waited 5 years for it to happen, and that's exactly right. It's the promoter's dream. We've talked a lot about key individuals, key battles within the game. I think that maybe one place that we have missed is that midfield area. It is so important, particularly in a grand final, to try and control that. And it's a big battle in there. Brebner and Broxham, and Michalek is the key to the tempo for Sydney. If they can keep possession away from the danger man, Hernandez.
There is Carlos Hernandez, the current Australian Player of the Year, winner of the Johnny Warren Medal. A few more trinkets besides. He's won titles before, not just with Melbourne, but also back at his native Costa Rica with Alajuelense. And he's looking for another addition to his trophy cabinet tonight. Free kick awarded to Sydney for the infringement on Alex Brosk. And Brosk could be key tonight for the Light Blues, playing in the white jerseys tonight.
Well, no doubt the two up front, Brosk for Sydney and Thompson for Melbourne. They're the two with the pace, and it's the defensive line for both sides, how they're going to play those two players.
Carol Kissel and the Korean fullback Byun on set-piece duty. Plenty of tall timber for Sydney to aim for. Stephen Keller's up there, Colosimo too. It's flicked on towards the far post, and it came off a Melbourne player last, or did it? No. Assistant referee, in fact, indicated a goal kick, but Strebrej Delovski has overruled it.
Well, I thought at first glance that was off a Sydney player. The flick-on's definitely from a Sydney player. No, it was. Good spot from the referee.
Came off Roddy Vargas. So Carol Kissel with the first corner of the grand final. Here is the Slovakian international again, 25 caps. Block made by Lee Broxham.
Yeah, Kissel just trying to move the ball there, not trying to beat Broxham, just trying to make a yard of space and bend it in around behind him.
Carol Kissel to take the throw in as well. He's leaving Sydney FC after this game. Decided to go back to Europe, where he'll continue his law studies. Melbourne on the counter here, looking for Robbie Cruz, maybe undone slightly by a bobble on the pitch there. Pitch has been relayed this week. Got plenty of criticism in recent months. Looks a lot better tonight. Flynn looking for Chris Payne, who's deputising for the vastly experienced, then of course injured John Aloisi, and then a clear foul by Kissel on the Thai international Surat Suka.
Yeah, good little turn there from Suka, and Kissel just late with the challenge. You're talking about the pitch. I was walking on it before the match with Kevin Muscat. He wasn't too happy with the state of the pitch, particularly on that side you were just talking about where the ball went to Payne. It's very, very soft and sandy underfoot.
Now Chris Payne's gone down behind play. Already the first shots between he and Kevin Muscat have been fired. That's going to be a verbal and physical battle that will rage for the 90 minutes. Payne the rookie, Muscat the Rottweiler veteran. Sam Ryle holding back Surat Suka, hence the free kick.
And gets a few boos, but he did play full 90 minutes last year in the grand final. There's Kevin Muscat. Just a little, how you doing? Kevin Muscat with the elbow into Chris Payne. He got straight up. Strepolowski having a quick word with Muscat, but of course, Muscat knows how to intimidate as well. Chris Payne, just a young kid, copped a lot of stick last week over that handball, very unfairly, I thought.
Stephen Keller climbing highest to win the header for Sydney. Surat returns it to Carlos Hernandez. Beautiful back heel. Surat's away. Kissel keeping pace. And a goal kick is the net result. Just a little glimpse there, Robbie, of Carlos Hernandez's quality. Doesn't necessarily need a lot of space in which to operate and show the full range of his repertoire.
No, and he brings other players into play. He was a little bit unlucky there, Suka, who looks very sharp in this opening period. Ball just bouncing. I think he wanted to cross that first time, but the bounce of the ball made him hesitate, and Kissel got back and just got a nudge. But Hernandez, player of the season, he's certainly got everything in the locker, hasn't he?
To reel up and under by Keller, then by Muscat, picked up by Kissel on halfway. Now Bjorn. Muscat just guiding the ball back to his goalkeeper, Mitch Langerak. Kevin Muscat, 36 years of age. Lots of speculation as to whether he'll retire after tonight's game, at least domestically. He's got that Asian Champions League campaign to continue with. Not quite the oldest player in a grand final. That honour still belongs to Milan Ivanovic, who played at the ripe old age of 38 some years ago. I think he's on the Melbourne coaching staff these days. This is Nicky Ward. Broxham skips past McFlynn, drives for the byline, and Bjorn concedes the corner.
That's good play by Broxham. He had an easy pass to Archie Thompson, but he took on the responsibility trying to get in behind Sydney. You see, he picks up the ball, he skips around McFlynn, shapes the cross there. Bjorn does well coming across, and blocks that cross.
Shorts, corner kick, Cruz across the face of goal. Down goes Nick Wards. Half-hearted appeals for a penalty kick, not heeded by Strabre Delovski. Nicky Ward, the former Crystal Palace, or rather Queen's Park Rangers, don't know where I got Crystal Palace from, Brighton Hove Albion player.
Well, they're both in London.
That's true. Ryle looking for and finding Alex Brosk. He's getting plenty of stick from the Melbourne fans, who felt he dived for the penalty kick in the major semi-final a week or two ago. That's high, wide and handsome off the boot of Bjorn. He's only ever scored 2 career goals. And
you can see why, and gets the first shot of the grand final. Hopefully there'll be better quality to come. Opened up for him, Alex Brosk. Was a beautiful ball from Sebastian Ryle. over the shoulder of Leia, and Brosk peeled off into that space. He loves that left-hand channel, Alex Brosk.
Bridge just in a bit of a hole on the centre circle. It's not a bad drive by Alex Brosk. Not too far wide of the target.
No, good play. And Mark Bridge pulled off into the little hole there, found himself in space. And it's a beautifully weighted ball for Alex Brosk, who takes it first time. I'm just wondering there whether he could have taken it on. It was Kevin Muscat chasing him. I feel he could have taken a touch there. Muscat wouldn't have caught him. Brosk has far too much pace. Melbourne pushing up, Leia out of position. Muscat, you can see the look on his face. He does not want to get isolated like that against Alex Brosk.
Sydney did that to such great effect earlier on in the season here at Etihad Stadium. Brosk and Bridge were little terriers all night. Didn't give Kevin Muscat a moment's peace. There is Bridge playing a slightly different role tonight, attacking midfield. Place of Steve Corica. Here is Bridge. That's another sighter for Sydney. Just on Kevin Muscat, Robbie. Opening 10 seconds of the game, Muscat and Payne involved in some verbals already. That was before the elbow.
That's very unsurprising.
Chris Payne, what a big day for him. Still just 19 years of age. The tackle by McFlynn.
Kevin Muscat just testing the nerves of Chris Payne, of course. Using his experience.
Here is the youngster. He's skipped clear of Adrian Leia. Couldn't quite keep the ball.
Such an impact off the bench in the preliminary final last week.
Melbourne fans enjoying themselves. They have the biggest average crowd in the Hyundai A-League, over 20,000 for the fourth year running. They are the benchmark for this competition, on and off the park. Cruz's touch. Archie Thompson involved for the first time. Kissel working hard. Stephen Keller into touch. Read this week that Melbourne perhaps feel that Keller is the weak link in the Sydney defence. Here's Cruz trying to exploit the big Swiss defender. Colosimo across to cover. Beautifully brought down by Brosk. Trying to find his strike partner, Payne. Muscat's too clever. Not the best clearance from Langerak. Gave Grant Brebner a bit of a headache. This is Surat. Suggestion of a handball against Mushalik, mainly from the Melbourne crowd. This is Grant Brebner playing in his third grand final. Playing in a couple of Scottish Cup finals too. And now Muscat stepping forwards. Broxham on the ball. Wide right is Archie Thompson. This way and that way, and eventually Colosimo says that's enough of that. Thompson stayed down. He's only just back from a serious injury, Archie Thompson. Broke a bone in his foot, and the ball is still in play. Melbourne wants the game stopped. They're in possession. Strebre Delovsky says you continue if you want to. And this is a concern for Melbourne victory. Looks to be in a bit of pain, Archie Thompson, Robbie.
Oh, he's gone down straight away. The hand come up. This is not looking good for Melbourne victory. He took an extra touch. He didn't really. He twists and turns there, takes a touch, just got stuck there, and Colosimo comes across, certainly wins the ball, but I think there's contact there on the ankle, the left-hand side.
I think it's the left knee. I think it's been jarred backwards.
He got his ankle caught between Colosimo's legs, and maybe that's jarred the knee. But he's in a lot of pain. A good challenge. It was well read from Colosimo. That's twice in the last couple of minutes he's cleaned up.
Yep, perfectly fair challenge by Simon Colosimo, who, by the way, is off to Korea for a loan spell with FC Seoul after this game. It doesn't look too good for Archie Thompson. That would be a massive blow for Melbourne, the man who scored 5 goals in the grand final a few years ago against Adelaide.
Yeah, it's the knee. His left ankle gets caught as well, but it's certainly knee on the inside of that knee.
Well, just what Ernie Merrick didn't want. He thought his club was over all their recent injury concerns. But his star striker, his marquee man, looks as though he may be only able to last 14 minutes. He is back up on his feet.
He didn't want to go off on the stretcher, Archie Thompson. And I'm sure Ernie Merrick will give him a couple of minutes or so to assess what's going to happen. Sydney fans are quite delighted to see it. Archie Thompson go off. He's shaking his head. No, he's gone.
Yep, the signal has just been made to the Melbourne bench that they're going to have to make the change. And that is a huge blow for Melbourne victory. Not only for today, of course, but for the rest of their Asian Champions League campaign, which continues on Tuesday in Japan. There's to be no back page headlines for Archie Thompson after this grand final, at least not of the kinds he'd prefer.
Well, with Archie Thompson coming off, obviously offensively they lose a massive weapon. Angulo will come on, who has impressed, and they'll have to change the way they play. Cruz will play up there on his own. Angulo and Hernandez probably sitting in behind.
Good dummy by Robbie Cruz to bring Nicky Ward into play. It's a bit narrow for Melbourne. Ward goes for goal, but no real power behind the shots. Melbourne want to make their change. Archie Thompson cutting a rather forlorn figure as he makes his way around the periphery of Etihad Stadium. Now the ball is out of play, and Marvin Angulo, the second Costa Rican in the Melbourne victory squads, will be thrown into the fray. He's a good player, is Marvin Angulo. 2 caps for Costa Rica. But Thompson really is one of Melbourne's real talisman.
Well, that'll certainly lift Sydney. Seeing one of the danger men going.
Here's the first touch for Angulo. Brebner finding Surat Sukar in space. Early release, looking for Nicky Ward. Colosimo's ball too high for Bridge and too far for Payne. Talking of Payne, Archie Thompson still really suffering. He's put his pride away and decided he will get on the stretcher after all. 11 goals this season though for Archie Thompson, and Melbourne will miss it. We've got another man down, Carlos Hernandez. Physical challenge by McFlynn. Sydney continue. This is Chris Payne. That'll be a goal kick, but now Hernandez has remained down on the turf.
That was certainly a heavy challenge from Terry McFlynn. Hernandez is certainly not happy. The ball was played in to his feet, and Terry McFlynn comes in and takes his leg away. For me, that was a foul. It's coming in from behind. It's clearly a foul.
Hernandez having words with Strebre Delovsky. He believes he should have had a free kick for that challenge. Replay suggests he may have a point. Sydney FC, funnily enough, the winners of the Fair Play Trophy this season. They've got a very good disciplinary record. Along with you, Robbie, I thought that was a foul by McFlynn.
Yeah, definitely. Clearly a foul. Easy for us, we've got the benefit of video replays.
Well, there we go. Melbourne have had the ball in Sydney's half for the bulk of the time in the last 5 minutes. Here they come again. Brebner feeding Cruz. Good feet by the former Brisbane Roar striker. Hernandez is left. Infield for Suratsuka. Again, it's just a bit too narrow for the victory. It's controlled by Payne, though. Cruz allowed to turn. Whole bank of white jerseys up ahead of him, and this time Strebre Delovsky does blow for the free kick. And it's in a good position for Melbourne victory.
That's Hernandez territory. But it was just a clumsy challenge, really. Robbie Cruz really getting the ball stuck between his feet. Cassell coming in the back. There's a little tap there, and it's probably the right decision.
Well, there's no prizes for guessing what's going to happen from this set piece. Carlos Hernandez is the dead ball specialist, and he's scored a fair few from these sort of distances in the past. Can he bring this dead ball to life? Hernandez curls it, and it wasn't too far away. 27 metres out from goal. Clint Bolton watched it all the way. Would he have got there, Robbie?
I think he had it covered. It's a good strike, though. He gets it up and over, and importantly down. I think Clint Bolton had that covered. He's a fair way off target in the end.
Melbourne's top scorer this season, Carlos Hernandez, with 13 goals. Provided 10 assists too. Broxham, well read by Colossimos, had an excellent season at the back for Sydney. Sends Mark Bridge scampering away. Good tackle by Grant Brebner, who then delivers a fearful riposte to his teammate Nicky Ward for not tracking back.
Brebner coming out of his central midfield position to track down Mark Bridge. He wasn't happy about it.
Bjorn's throw. This is Ryle. Played in last year's grand final for Melbourne victory. So tug on the jersey by Hernandez on Brosk.
Very close to a yellow card, that one.
Well, the one thing we don't want, Robbie, today is red cards, because the last 3 grand finals have produced 4 sendings off.
Yes, I think Strebre will be very aware of that. But really, it's been, I'd have to say, a rather tame opening to the grand final between these fierce rivals.
Two best teams in the country, finishing 1 and 2 on the regular season ladder. Bjorn's ball in. McFlynn missed it. Kissel picks it up, but he's robbed by Angulo. Ran straight into the Northern Irishman, Terry McFlynn. With a solid challenge in it, almost squirted through for Payne. Vargas alert for Melbourne. And Ryle very brave for Sydney. Well, Brebner certainly made contact with him, but it was accidental. Both players fully committed in going for the ball.
It was bizarre. Ryle was on the ground and he's thrown his head at it. His head was only a foot or so off the ground.
Well, I don't think you can blame the Scotsman Brebner for this.
There's the initial challenge. It's on Hernandez. Roll goes up and then he goes to ground and then there's no blame there on Brebner. He certainly collects him. The side of the head, Sebastian Roll. This will be the best angle.
Ouch. That's funny, isn't it? Grant Brebner was involved in a controversial incident in the 2007 Grand Final, almost on the exact same part of the pitch. He was clattered by Ross Aloisi, now one of our Fox Sports analysts, and Aloisi saw red for that challenge, but I think Strebray Delovsky has made the right decision in not even showing a yellow card for that particular incident. It's always going to be physical, this particular contest, especially with so much on the line. Bridge into McFlynn, who got a touch. Broxham getting through a lot of work. Hernandez's touch. Melbourne looking to launch the counter.
No, it's just not happening at the moment for Melbourne. Not really able to find Hernandez in the space they would like to, and talked about that midfield battle, and Sydney certainly winning that at the moment.
Mark Bridges dropping off into some nice little positions just in front of the Melbourne backline as well. This is Bjorn. Cross with the left boots. There's nobody there for Sydney. And this is Angulo. Now he's been collected by Ryle. Again, Streb Delovsky decides to play on, at least initially, and then Cruz is checked. The Melbourne bench are furious, and Strebray Delovsky is going to issue the first yellow card of the Grand Final to Sebastian Ryle of Sydney for the initial challenge. And
there could have been another one there with Keller also committing a foul on Robbie Cruz as he looked to break away. I'll have a look at those. There's Angulo. Sebastian Ryle knows exactly what he's doing. He just blocks him. And then Keller as well, as Robbie Cruz turns, drops his shoulder. This is the first challenge. That's obstruction. Robbie Cruz with the turn. And there's the clip from Keller. He knows he's beaten. Could have been a yellow as well.
I think it was good refereeing by Strebray Delovsky. Initially tried to allow the advantage for Melbourne. He's a common sense referee, or at least he tries to be, Robbie.
Yeah, big honour for him. We're refereeing the Grand Final. He's doing a good job, as you just said, Simon, and I like his style of refereeing.
Bounce beat Colosimo. Cruz back into the danger zone. Charlotte only partially clear. Broxham to Angulo and back again. And Stephen Keller hooks it into row G. First goal so important in a Grand Final, particularly with these two teams. Neither has lost this season after gaining the advantage. In fact, Sydney have taken the lead on 15 occasions and won the lots. Melbourne have drawn 1 or 2. It's good play again by the Victory. Broxham centre. And Surat gets the final touch.
That's a very good ball in from Lee Broxham. Angulo was coming in. They're just arriving too late. Cruz was at the near post. So it's...
Lee Broxham getting through an awful lot of work. He's covered the most distance of any player so far in this Hyundai A-League Grand Final, over 3,000 metres, and a couple of sprints too. That's recorded when the players reach a speed of 20 k's per hour or above and sustain it for 5 seconds or longer. A little new innovation we've got for you this season on Fox Sports. Broxham is that sort of very busy player.
He's broke a couple of times down that right-hand side.
Sebastian Ryle, 30 appearances in a Melbourne jersey, is still the Victory's youngest ever player. 18 years and 51 days when he made his debut. He's had a tough season off the park with injuries and various personal issues that he's had to deal with. Here he is playing in the game showpiece event for the 2nd year in a row. Angulo, now Cruz, right on the shoulder of Colosimo, onside, squares it up for Hernandez. Nicky Wards, driven towards goal by Broxham, who's never scored for Melbourne. Now he's got to scamper back because Sydney have got a break on here through Bridge. That's a good challenge by Leia, and he was caught by Bridge there. Assistant referee spotted it on this near touchline, and the Melbourne bench are on their feet again. They feel they're getting the rough end of the stick here from the officials, and Leia was certainly caught late by Bridge.
Yeah, Leia was definitely favourite for that, and I think Bridge has gone in there late. I think he stays down because he knows it. The referee's assistant flags straight away. He comes in there with the studs up. It's not the leading leg that hits Leia, and you see Leia grabbing the left knee. Leia's clear favourite. Bridge lunges in. That's a very dangerous lunge.
I think Mark Bridge copped it in the unmentionables as well, Robbie. Now, Strebro-Delovsky, what does he do here? He's issued a yellow card to Bridge. We had a red card very early in the grand final last season, given to Cristiano of Adelaide United. Bridge has escaped with the yellow. What about Adrian Leia?
I think he got that right. Certainly Leia's favourite to win that ball, as was clearly shown. But the game is very tense, very cagey. Melbourne still feel really reeling from the loss of Archie Thompson.
Melbourne, by the way, statistically the most foul team in the Hyundai A-League this season. Adrian Leia's back on the park for the Victory. He's up and about and okay. This is Robbie Cruz. Telepathy between he and Hernandez, not quite on the same wavelength.
Yeah, Hernandez just can't get into the game at the moment. He's tried to drift out there to the right-hand side, and as you said, Robbie Cruz and wasn't on the same wavelength as he just tried. He thought Hernandez was going to continue his run, but he held it. But Hernandez, when he's in the middle of the park, it's really been nullified, particularly by Michalek.
Now here's Seb Ryle getting forwards down the right side for Sydney. Kissel on the volley, had no real control over the ball.
Now that was a shot. He's looking beat that one first time. Very difficult.
Adrian Leyer, who this time last year was fighting a relegation battle with Norwich City during his latter days in England. There's the Victory fans in fine voice. Bremner finding Cruz. Nicky Ward on the right. It came off the shins of Colosimo. Melbourne corner.
Colosimo did well again. He's done that well, Colosimo. He's just slided across when he's had to this evening, and he's made a few very good tackles as he comes across when Hume gets caught slightly upfield.
Lee Broxham to feed in the corner. He's taken it short to Angulo and back again. Now Hernandez, who just peeled away and got a couple of metres of space, but again leaning back rather than into the shot.
And had to hit it across his body as well, so he had a couple of things to think about. But that's his first shot, probably do his confidence a bit of good. Take the short corner, Lee Broxham. And there's a good pass back to Hernandez across the body, but just slightly leaning back.
7 goals in his last 11 games for Melbourne. He is one of the men in form. It has really been a stalemate. It's to suggest the obvious, given the scoreline, clearly, but no real clear-cut chances.
No, and you'd have to say the quality of the play hasn't been fantastic, but it is a grand final. It's been tense. There's not a lot of time on the ball out there. Players getting closed down very, very quickly.
Come on, Bridget, baby, come on!
Now Ward's lost out. Terry McFlynn in possession, looking for Payne. Easily gathered by Langerak.
Yeah, it's a forced pass from Terry McFlynn. Had better options there as they were breaking forward. Bridge won the ball in midfield.
Vyacheslav Levitska and his opposite number, Andy Merrick. Not exactly the most animated of coaches on the touchline. In fact, they give the impression that they're trying to solve a rather tricky algebra problem without a calculator. Thoughtful coaches rather than demonstrative.
That's a poor pass from Sebastian Roll. Completely mishit it to Kissel.
Hernandez operating in very tight spaces. He was clipped too. Cruz is offside. The right idea by the two Costa Ricans, and Strebre Delovsky is going to bring them back. That's good refereeing again, I think.
Yep. We're certainly singing it. He's man of the match at the moment.
He is.
But he played the advantage. None was there. He comes back for the free kick on Carlos Hernandez.
Is there a foul in there, Robbie?
It was a bit... just a body check. It was certainly offside.
Ronnie Vargas adjudged to be offside from the resultant set piece, and that's sort of been the story of the game.
That's sloppy, isn't it? It really is, from a set piece. This is the challenge on Hernandez as he plays the ball down to Angulo. And Kissel just into the back of him. He got that one right as well.
Not much doubt about the offside either.
It's another poor pass, and there's just no space in there, and it's both teams are playing very, very narrow. Not much width. We haven't seen a lot from Bjorn down the left-hand side. I do think Levitska went with Ryle because he is more defensive than Shannon Cole. You get a bit more quality going forward from Shannon Cole. Might see him in the second half, depending on circumstances, but I think Levicka would certainly be the happier of the two coaches, particularly with Archie Thompson departing the scene.
Plenty of graft, not much craft. That's the story thus far in this grand final. Terry McFlynn. Kissel and peeled away to the right. Needed a better delivery.
Yeah, Kissel, I thought he was well shepherded really there by Suka. I didn't really think the pass was on. A little bit forced again from Terry McFlynn. And for once, Bjorn had overlapped down that left-hand side, and that maybe was the better option. But McFlynn may be saying that he didn't hear a call.
Terry McFlynn being watched by his big mate Ty Keneally, the Sydney Swan, flown down for this grand final.
He flew down last night, actually. It's on our grand final show we had last night, and flew down with another Swans player.
Swans, for our overseas viewers, are an Australian rules football team.
Thank you, Simon. Kevin Muscat's come up from the back again, complaining about some of the fouls from Bjorn, and that's could have been a yellow card again for a shirt pull. Kevin Muscat, well, to be a very good lip reader to see that, but that's how many? 9 fouls to 3. Bjorn with the hands tied behind the back, very respectful.
Looked like the schoolboy had been called up to see the headmaster there, didn't he? Kevin Muscat to take the free kick. Roxon finds the route to goal blocked. Sydney very compact. Hernandez flicks it through though, touched by Angulo, and it's Colosimo who's there again for Sydney. Sydney wanted a foul there by Muscat, not given. This is Angulo, tees it up. A real shank off the boot of Nicky Ward. And Seb Ryle clears it, not too convincingly though. Back with Surat Suka, Hernandez, another back heel, Surat. Again, Sydney, strong, determined, organised, focused. Kissel, Payne, onside. It's a narrow angle, but it's tipped behind by Langerak, and that was a good counter by Sydney FC.
Yeah, I think that was going in. Question of offside. Roddy Vargas was asking the referee's assistant, but you play the whistle. You see here he's got his hand up to the referee's assistant. I think because Chris Payne's got every right to go for the shot. Bridge was coming on, but he didn't see him on the back post, and that's a good touch from Langerak. That was going in the far corner, across his body, and Langerak with a real fingertip save.
Well, Melbourne fans unhappy that the whistle wasn't blown for offside, but Sydney have the corner. There is Chris Payne, the protagonist in both the offside decision and the subsequent shot. Bjorn's corner, up goes Keller. Osimo's there too. Back for Bridge, who drives it low and hard. Now Kissel. Sydney still have numbers, including Keller. Melbourne can't clear the lines. Oh, Bridge and Kissel get in an awful mess. And now Brebner. Looking for Hernandez. And Melbourne get the throw-in.
And that's where you needed Archie Thompson. It was a good ball from Brebner, but Hernandez just hasn't got that electrifying pace.
Tempo's starting to quicken somewhat. This is Grant Brebner. Roxon, a bit far for Hernandez. Oh, he manages to find the space superbly. Hernandez, Cruz and peeled off. Here's Surat. just a metre or two over the top from the Thai international.
He takes it first time, Suka. It's the best move so far and the best chance for Melbourne. Bit of Hernandez brilliance down the right-hand side. Watch this, the run in behind from Nicky Ward. He just lifts over the pass. It's over the top from Robbie Cruz, and decent power on the strike from Suka, but just goes over the top of the bar.
Still waiting to open his account for Melbourne victory. Surat Suka. The first Thai to play in the A-League, although he was joined briefly by his compatriot Suti Suksongkit, who came to Melbourne on loan. Neither has since departed. Keller down the line looking for Payne. Ronnie Vargas, who leads the A-League stat in terms of interceptions, was again there to prove why. Stepping forward into midfield, where he played a large part of his career. It drives for goal too. Langerak perfectly positioned.
Good play from Simon Colosimo's been excellent in this first half. There he steps up from the back, takes on the responsibility, drives into midfield. There's not much on, so he thinks I'll take a chance himself. That ball was swerving. Langerak very relieved to see it coming straight at him.
Simon Colosimo playing in his 5th grand final. Not quite the most experienced Sydney FC player, though, in that regards, as we move into injury time, which there'll be 2 minutes. Goalkeeper Clint Bolton is actually playing in his 6th. There he is, the Sydney FC custodian, but not for long, of course. He's coming to play in this city next season for the new franchise, the Melbourne Hearts. He's had a terrific season, few eyebrows raised by Sydney's willingness to let him go.
That was a clever header there from Kevin Musker, wasn't it? Knew the position of Vargas and just sort of heading it out for a Sydney throw. He just headed it backwards.
Well, it's fair to say, Robbie, that it's been a cagey at times, niggly first half, and really the flair players haven't had the opportunity thus far to show us their wares. There we go, there's another example.
No, and that's where most of the play's taken place. It's been very little in the final third in either half. It's been really in that midfield, and Sydney have done well. This is Michalek. They've just not given Hernandez any space or time.
Sydney moving into double figures in the foul count. Maybe they'll be able to launch the last attack of the first half here. Chris Payne has got pace, but he hasn't got the delivery, sadly, for Sydney.
Right idea, though. Looking for the run of Alex Bross, but got past Roddy Vargas. Used his body well there, Chris Payne.
So there we go, the first half over and done with, and perhaps as we expected in two teams as closely matched as these, it's scoreless at the break. Archie Thompson has gone off injured for Melbourne victory, a blow for the reigning champions. And one of these teams is going to have to find some inspiration to try and break the deadlock in the second period in the grand final. And half-time at Etihad Stadium, it's Melbourne victory 0, Sydney FC 0.